Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to the Mayapur talk show. Today with you, your host, Radhika Nagara, and we have a very special topic to discuss with you today, which is appreciating Srila Prabhupada's books. And most of us have been touched by the words of Srila Prabhupada. Actually, the books change our lives. And today, in order to gain appreciation for the books, in order to perhaps learn some techniques that we can implement in your lives for reading Srila Prabhupada's books in a systematic way, we have two very, very special guests. They're both senior residents of Sridham Mayapur, and they're both pioneers in the Sastric education within the movement. Janmastami Prabhu, he joined in 1977, originally from the US, but he had been in Mayapur since 1997. And he founded the Mayapur Institute in the year 2000, along with Atul Krishna Prabhu, originally from Australia. He joined in 1985, and he has been a part of the Mayapur community, very much loved by the community because he also speaks Bengali as well. And together, they have actually been part of, revolution within the movement. Actually, more than 2,000 devotees, I don't know, maybe 3,000 now, they have taken their Bhakti Shasti degrees, their Bhakti Vaibhava degrees. I was lucky enough to meet them in 2008 and became part of the team and having engaged ever since. So thank you for being with us, and welcome, Atul Krishna Prabhu, Janmastami Prabhu. So since the topic is about Srila Prabhupada's books, maybe you can tell us what was your first contact with Srila Prabhupada's books?
Should I start?
Yes.
I was, this is 4 years before I joined the movement, and I was in a Montreal bus station, and I lived in Burlington, Vermont, which is about 3 hours away, and I was waiting for the bus. And this heavenly damsel, that's what she looked like, this Mataji in a sari. I'd never really had any contact with the Hare Krishnas before, and she approached me to sell me a Bhagavad Gita. And I tried to talk her into giving it to me for free. But she said, I can't do that. And she gave me a King of Knowledge, Rajavijaya. And it was, she said, I'll give it to you under one condition, give it to you for free, but you have to read it. So on the bus ride back to Burlington, I started reading this book, and it just was amazing how it transformed my consciousness. I just felt so blissful. I'd never experienced anything like that before reading a book. I noticed looking back that at that point, even though I lived in an area which was very remote, there weren't any temples nearby. I didn't know of any devotees in the state of Vermont. But, it led me to a point where 1 year before I joined, and I didn't read the book anymore. From time to time, I'd pick the book up and look at the back cover, a photograph of Srila Prabhupada. And I think it was at the New Vrindavan Janmastami festival early on in the movement. 72, I think. And I just was amazed. He was such a wonderful looking personality. But then 1 year before I joined, I started praying every day, God, please direct me to my guru. And then all of a sudden, all these miracles started taking place in my life that brought me to the movement. So I attribute a lot of that to this, planting of the seed in my heart. It wasn't that I understood the Shakshi Gopal pastime took place in Rajavijaya, and this deity following a Brahmin across India. I couldn't really relate to that coming from a Christian background, but the level of consciousness that this stimulated in me was remarkable. So I knew something was very special about it, even though I didn't have so much of an understanding, other than just how it affected my consciousness. That was my first experience.
And I was, How long did it take you to meet the devotees?
It was
After?
about 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. And I was in the hippie culture, and Krishna very kindly arranged for me to burn out with all that. And that was why the prayers started. And then I had an experience with a mystic yogi who had Harisari Prabhu had arranged for his darshan with Srila Prabhupada. He actually worshipped Radha Krishna deities. And he had the capacity, this is a mystic power that he had, somehow or other he got it, and it was well known. I didn't know about it at the time, but I called his senior disciple once and asked for, I need your Guru Maharaj's help. He says, well, you have a picture of Guruji, so ask him a question as if by magic you'll get an answer. So I carried on a 6-week dialogue with him. And then one night he told me to go out and flag down a bus on the highway. In America, you don't do those kind of things. You go to bus stations. So 2 minutes after I got out on the highway, a bus comes rolling over the hill. And the bus driver lets me on, takes me into the nearest city, which was 18 miles away, Rutland, Vermont. And then the yogi told me to buy a ticket to New York, which I did. In the meantime, there was a whole dialogue going on with me, and I lost about 20 kgs in 6 weeks. And I also understood my source of unhappiness was coming from sense gratification, which is, of course, a principle of Krishna consciousness. And so I became more and more inspired to take up a spiritual pathway. I didn't know what, but then, so I get into Port Authority bus terminal. The yogi told me to buy a ticket when I got into Rutland to buy a ticket to New York. So I'm all night long on a bus. I get into Port Authority bus terminal in New York City, mid-morning, and then the yogi says, you're going to meet a very special person, deal with him respectfully. And then Sanjaya Prabhu, he was a senior book distributor. He left his body about, I think, 12 years ago. And but he approached me to sell me a Bhagavad Gita. And I started telling him about the yogi. And he was kind of thinking I was maybe a little crazy. So, but then I kept pursuing him and asking him more and more questions. And then he showed me the parampara at the end of the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. And it just clicked. And I could understand this was something that was very valid. And so he encouraged me to go to the temple. And that was the first day I'd ever visited a Hare Krishna temple. And I joined right on the spot. My next day I was 16 rounds and never stopped, because it was just a whole series of remarkable arrangements that I see Prabhupada made. And it started with that book. And then again, with a book distributor, just encouraging me. And then that was it for the yogi. He'd done his job and he disappeared on me. And so I just continued with my devotional service.
Wonderful. Nice to hear. Very interesting story. And we see the potency of Srila Prabhupada's books.
Yeah.
That, just this little angel saved you with the Raja Vidya, changed the course of your life.
Right. Yeah, I didn't realize where it was leading me, but looking back, I can see this was a big turning point in my life.
Sometimes also, for those people who are distributing books, it's so nice to hear that. Sometimes we may be out all day and we may distribute 1 or 2 books, but if the book falls in the right hands, then it can really, change people's life and for the better, for the best.
Right.
Atul Krishna Prabhu, what was your first contact with Srila Prabhupada's books?
This is for Mayapur community specifically?
No, this is for global.
Oh, global. Okay, good. But anyway,
I'm sure maybe Mayapur devotees will be watching.
and
we say Hare Krishna to you.
how I've managed to attain such a moment, to be here in Navadip Dham, in the association of such deep sadhakas in the study of Srila Prabhupada's books, and to be discussing this topic and in Chaitanya from Prabhupada's books. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he's instructing Srila Rupa Goswami from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he says that Koti Gyani Modde Hoy Ekjon Mukta, that out of 10 million Gyanis Hoy Ekjon Mukta, there's one person who's actually liberated soul. Koti Mukta Modde, and out of 10 million liberated souls, Dulab Ek Krishna Bhakta. It's rare to find a devotee of Krishna out of 10 million actually liberated souls, and that I'm with two devotees who are, so they're giving their life to studying Prabhupada's books, which are, so that makes you so special to Krishna. And here I am sitting with you discussing the topic of Srila Prabhupada's books. What a moment. What a moment, by your mercy, Vaishnava's mercy. Unlike Janmastami Prabhu, I had some impression of Krishna consciousness before receiving the book. Shall I share with you a little bit about that?
Please.
So I was about 12 years old, and my family was at the holiday resort on the beach. And at that place, this is in 1974. So at that place, some Prabhupada disciples were preaching, and they had like a center, but it wasn't like ISKCON. It was just like, when people get involved, they like Krishna consciousness, so they started having a little altar and offering food and stuff. And so that was all the talk of the holiday center. They would bow down to the sea before going in for surfing, and bow down. One of them shaved their head. That was at the time in 1974, with long hair. And when they make a campfire at night, they would take the log and they would shake it and knock off all the ants before they put it on the fire. So I heard these values. You bow down to the sea, and they took and vegetarian, so it already did and Mahamantra, they said, they chant Hare Krishna, at least Hare Krishna I heard. So then and then Prabhupada was in the news because of Rath Yatra and things in Melbourne. I was fortunate to be in Melbourne, and Prabhupada was in the news.
Wow.
Yeah, so we saw Prabhupada in the news, and Rath Yatra in the news and stuff. I don't remember the images, but, I remember one image of Prabhupada. So then maybe, when I was in college, and then I started going to a restaurant. I remember the first time I took prasadam. I remember what the items were. It was one of those plates that you have in India, they're like an oval with 3 sections. So maybe the devotees brought the plates back from India after a trip, so they had them in the restaurant. So one item was rice, like brown rice or rice with jeera, like a little bit of, like spice in the rice. And then aloo sabji, potato sabji, and halva. And I ate them. I ate all 3. I thought it was just I didn't know the halva was the sweet at the end. I just kind of ate them all, But it was so amazing. I still remember and then the flavors. I was an art student, so the flavors, the agarbatti scent, and then the sound of the kirtan, the look, everything. I was so attracted to the sensual beauty of Krishna consciousness. The restaurant devotees, and we had the temple there. And devotees were there. I remember I went to the temple, and so a devotee, I went to the bathroom. It was just a small, you buzz the gate to go in, not like now where just people pour into our centers. You buzz the gate to go in. And it was an old boys' school, and they'd converted it into a temple and ashram. And I went they sent me to the bathroom. So outside the bathroom, a devotee was standing on the stairs. And he was like 2 or 3 stairs. So it was an old house, like a little stairway going up, a little wooden stairway. An old, one of the first properties in that district of Victoria, Melbourne. And, National Heritage Building, little stairways going up. Devotee was 2 or 3 flights up. He was there, and he's looking at the wall. He's going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare.
It's quite a scene, right? When you haven't seen it before.
I just thought, wow, I mean, not these people, wow. So the book I got was from the restaurant, and the book, because they'd have the books on the table, and the book was Easy Journey to Other Planets, and I took it with me. I carried it with me for a few months. I went on a trip, and I carried it with me, and I was trying to read it, trying to understand philosophy. I was trying to read it, and all I remember from it was the words Prabhupada wrote, material and anti-material worlds. That's all I remember from the book. And I didn't understand anything else. But that was enough to penetrate into the heart and gradually enlighten me. Began Ride Prakashito. Began Ride Prakashito. Because a couple of words actually, entered into my mind. Anti-material, anti-material world. And then, so then I started going to the temple, and it wasn't like like Janmastami Prabhu's experience that he read the book and everything changed. For me, the books came a little later when I started to get more interested, and I read the Bhagavad Gita, just the verses, translations. I didn't read the purports because that was too much. That was too preachy. But I read the translations of all the Bhagavad, and I'd read. I sat down one weekend and read the whole Bhagavad Gita. But even that wasn't. That was enough. You can't kind of avoid the fact that Jan Hare Krishna. I read some purports. So by that time, I was already practicing Krishna consciousness.
So you both have dedicated your lives to teach actually the Shastra, and I was thinking, what is the role that you could say that Srila Prabhupada's books, out of all the things, there are many aspects in Krishna consciousness. There's Harinam, there is service, there is so many things that we can do, but Srila Prabhupada's books must have taken an important place in your lives in Krishna consciousness. What is that? What is the role of Srila Prabhupada's books in your life, Janmastami Prabhu?
Well, I've learned how to live my life. That's basically it. Because all the instructions. He established ISKCON as a facility for devotees to practice pure devotional service. And so if we understand what pure devotional service is and how to practice it, what the whole modality, what it involves, that's a very significant part of our devotional lives. I know many devotees that don't read, they're not really aware of what pure devotional service is. Pure devotee, that's way beyond something I can conceive of. They think like that, but it's not. It's something that's accessible, and why Prabhupada created the movement. And so it makes it much easier. It's like it's actually getting this Prabhupada's personal association in a very powerful way, so that we can go through, practice sadhana bhakti. We can identify our anarthas. We can learn how to become free of the anarthas. It gives us the strength to persevere in difficult circumstances, in challenging circumstances, and make advancement in spite of the challenges. So it really is basically, it's the basis for our lives. That's the way I see it. Like the famous San Francisco news conference, I think it was 1972, when all these news reporters and television cameramen were at the San Francisco temple waiting for Prabhupada to arrive. And so when he came in, he got bombarded by questions. And one question was, Swamiji, what will happen to your movement when you die? And then Prabhupada responded, I will never die. I will always live in my books. So I never met Srila Prabhupada. I almost did. If he'd come to New York and gone on to get an Nagara, then I would have connected in that way. But the very deep connection over the years with his books. And so it's a very personal relationship that any of us can have. It doesn't matter whether one took Diksha from Prabhupada or not. The spiritual relationship can go very deep on the basis of the devotional connection. And that's the primary connection that we can access Prabhupada through, is through his books. He dedicated unbelievable amount of time and energy to do it. It's miraculous. It was superhuman, what he did. Traveled around the world 14 times in 12 years, 108 temples, and all these books. And they're so profound. And there's so much of his love that one can experience just by reading them. It may, the example is given in the Nectar of Instruction of the jaundice condition, where when someone has this disease of jaundice, and sugar tastes bitter to him. But if he keeps taking the sugar, it becomes sweeter and sweeter. And that's how he gets cured from this disease of the liver. So devotees may go in a period in their lives where they aren't reading Prabhupada's books regularly, don't have a taste. But if they just start doing it, they do it in association, that's also a very powerful way.
Yeah, I should say that Janmastami Prabhu is actually now directing an effort which is called Prabhupada Connection, right?
Prabhupada Network, and we have Prabhupada Connect Days.
Okay. So it's called Prabhupada Network. So be aware that this is a project is coming up, and the idea is to help devotees to connect with Srila Prabhupada as the preeminent Siksha Guru.
Right.
And I assume that a major part of that is Srila Prabhupada's Vani in the form of his books.
That's correct, yeah.
So we'll follow up on that. I'd like to hear from Atul Krishna Prabhu about the role of Srila Prabhupada's books in your life.
I thank you, Radhika Nagara Prabhu, for inquiring in such a way, because it gave me an opportunity to actually analyze my life and the role that Srila Prabhupada's books play in them. That story I told of the devotee standing on the step and chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, that's significant, because I think that's the thing that really, at that time, attracted me to join the movement, and it keeps me in the movement. I mean, at that time I was 19 or 20 years old. I was an art student living with other artists in the student area. To sit and to take the japa mala and chant Hare Krishna, we were experimenting with so many more things than compared to that. That was nothing. We'd try the chanting japa. Yeah, I'll try that. How do you do it? You close your eyes, you chant, you hold the beads. Yeah, I'll try that. That was it for me. When you experience Golokera Prema Dhan Harinama Sankirtan, you experience that taste of connecting to Krishna through the name, absorption in the japa, japa meditation. And still today, that's what keeps me in Krishna consciousness, is being able to relish the Nam Amrit, in chanting in the holy name, and that gives me relief from being in this world, and that's why I'm in the movement. Because where else can you need to have a lifestyle around people where you can sit and chant your japa every morning and not have to do anything else. So, in other words, that's why Prabhupada created ISKCON, as far as I'm concerned. So it's a lifestyle where I can be a part of it, and I can happily chant my rounds every morning, and it's like, that's appreciated in the community. So how supportive of that is a person who wants to chant the japa? And then, so the role the books play, well, the books, you could say, for me, it's like a script that I follow in order to be able to interact with devotees. Now, otherwise, it would be very, very difficult, I think, to be in this movement. But every way I interact with devotees, it's in relation to the books. So either I'm teaching devotees, and that's based on the books, or we're instructing, or we're speaking, and that's all about the books. So in that way, and then we're interacting with devotees, the things we're working on together, that's pursuing the goals that are revealed in the books. So the Prabhupada's books are really the foundation of my social existence and spiritual. Tadera Charana Sheva Bhakta Shone Bash, to be able to associate with the devotees is such an essential principle of the Goswami's process. So the books really make it, for me, they're just the recipe whereby I can kind of properly associate with the Vaishnavas and live a life like that.
You made so many. I don't know. Maybe some of our audience don't know, but Atul Krishna Prabhu has been, part of developing most of the courses in ISKCON, actually.
Not most.
Yeah, many, at least many famous courses like ISKCON Disciples course, right? The Guru course, and anyway, Bhakti Shastri also in many ways. So, what technique? What can you say to someone who is actually struggling, having a difficulty to, read Prabhupada's books in a consistent manner?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this is the answer you're looking for, but
I'm not looking for any answer. I'm looking to hear you.
What I like to do is I listen a lot to audio books.
Uh-huh.
I listen to a lot to audio books. You can read. I don't know if you want to delete that from this
No,
presentation,
it's fine.
because as far as I'm concerned, why we're reading is to hear. And I listen to the chapter. It's the chapter of the Bhagavatam with everything, the verses there, chapters there. You listen to it. Then I listen to it maybe 3 or 4 times, the same chapter. So you really, and then but then we maybe that's if I'm teaching that section.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes to devotees that they want to read, but they're so busy, I suggest that they do this, and it works for them. I mean, it's
So audiobooks is a good way to kind of be in touch with that sound vibration, which is basically the essence.
Yeah, I mean, when you're reading, you're hearing Prabhupada's subtle voice anyway. You're hearing that subtle sound, and the audio book, because it's edited script. It's not just like a lecture.
Yeah.
You can just listen to one line again and you listen to it. You can study it just by hearing.
Yeah.
That's so. And then again, studying and reading and sitting and reading a page or 2 of the Bhagavatam also. That's very, So the books are there feeling the Bhagavatam.
You must have studied Prabhupada's books deeply because you've been teaching them for 24 years now.
When we began, we didn't have computers. We were reading the books, and we didn't. I mean, computers were there. Yeah, we had computers, but everything wasn't as developed as it is now. I mean, we got books. We were using the books a lot more when we were developing things in those days, and these books with the post-it notes, and people, and in the class, of course, the books are there. I was using the books when we're teaching in the class. The books are there open, and that was before we putting everything on the digital. And actually, in many ways, teaching it, you look at the page reference and you read it in the class. That's in many ways more beneficial than looking at a slide.
Nice. And Janmastami Prabhu, regarding this initiative, the Prabhupada Network, how can that help? And we're looking at it from the context of Srila Prabhupada's books also. What is your conviction, I would say, of the benefit of reconnecting with Prabhupada through his books?
Well, we're in a transitional period within our movement. Many of the senior gurus will be leaving. Gopal Krishna Maharaj left, Bhakti True Swami left. Jayapataka Swami is in very critical health condition. We're praying that he'll stay, but it's practically all the senior gurus are having major health challenges now. So the more devotees can connect on a deep level, on a heart level with Srila Prabhupada, the stronger our movement will be, the stronger the individual devotees will be, the higher their level of enthusiasm will be. I remember when we started the Mayapur Institute, Atul, I'm sure remembers, all of the devotees on the team, teachers, administrators, everybody, chanted their japa and Prabhupada Samadhi. And there was tremendous Shakti that came from it. Most devotees were shocked at how quickly the Mayapur Institute developed. We were instruments, but it was Prabhupada that made the arrangements, and it was powerful. Just before we started the talk show, Atul and I were talking about a course that we're developing, which will really give tremendous impetus for everybody that takes the course, this Introduction to Prabhupada course, to go deeply into their relationship with him. And it's an obvious way because Prabhupada put such a heavy emphasis on doing all the translations and getting as many books as possible in print before he left. And, so it's just loaded with Shakti. And if anybody goes deeply into it, then they'll have remarkable experiences in their lives where they'll feel so happy, so satisfied. Their faith will increase tremendously. Their empowerment to do service will increase tremendously. As we were coming to the studio tonight, or this afternoon, we met Vaisheshika's, his servant secretary. And I remember how Vaisheshika, he was always reading out loud. And I remember coming to Kartik and Vrindavan every year, and he'd be in the MVT park reading out loud to himself for hours on end. And look at the level of advancement that he's achieved and how erudite his classes are, but not just scholarship, but the deep realizations. It came from all these years of vigorously studying Prabhupada's books, enthusiastically studying them and preaching, trying his best to help devotees and spread the movement. So that can be the case for anybody if they they lay a strong foundation with Shastric study, and that it'll open up amazing realizations of what Prabhupada has given to us. If we don't read his books, oh boy, it's pretty tough to really understand what Krishna consciousness is all about. And it's our number one protection against Maya. It gives us the strength and the enthusiasm to chant the holy name and, to associate properly with devotees, because there's all these examples of proper and improper association that's given in the Bhagavatam. So it will just kind of make our movement very stable. And the relationship with Prabhupada will go deeper and deeper and deeper. So there will be a very deep, loving relationship that's that's possible with going deep and studying Prabhupada's books.
And the result of this, a stronger relationship will be better service, more enthusiasm, stronger faith.
Okay. That's right.
I recall that a few years ago there was some ILS.
The what?
There was some ILS.
Oh.
Survey that was conducted, and so many of the leaders, that attended that leaders' hangar, they were not reading Prabhupada's books. It was kind of a shock to the leadership.
Right.
And, we realized the importance to, read Prabhupada's books. So I was wondering, what kind of challenges have you faced or you have seen in other devotees that you may have dealt with that have kind of, blocked their ability to read, or you're having regular programs reading Srila Prabhupada's books?
Right. One thing that I was having a discussion with one devotee who's a leader in Calcutta, won't mention names, about, after he gave Bhagavatam class, about when is prayasha, over-endeavoring, applicable to devotees. They're full-time, serving in Prabhupada's mission, and got so much service, particularly if they're in a leadership position. And when is over-endeavoring, as Rupa Goswami describes in Upadeshamrita, for material things, when's that applicable? And I'd asked this question of Satrup Maharaj way back in the mid-'80s, and it really clicked in. If we're doing so much service that it impacts our sadhana, and of course that means reading an hour a day, then it's over-endeavoring. And then after I made a comment, I commented on this. I asked the question, but then he asked me to give an answer. Mm-hmm. And then Radhisham was there, because this was the youth camp like a couple of weeks back. And Radhisham says, well, like with Gauranga, he said, I'm your servant, I'm all yours from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., but nothing more than that. So he limits, what he does. And so I just, there was one letter, a 72 letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to Abhiram. He was, I don't know what service, I think he was a temple president at that time. But he was saying, you've got to have, a full morning program, an hour of Prabhupada's books every day. If you don't set this example, or else you'll fall down. Because I've really strong.
Prabhupada told him directly.
That's what he said directly. It's actually in the VTE Leadership Management Training Workshop. that student handbook. And,
VT means Vaishnav Training and Education. Right?
Vaishnava Training and Education. That's what all of the Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhava courses use those educational principles. That's what we're using for the courses we're developing with Prabhupada Network. So, Prabhupada was really strong about that. But, I was just having a discussion. I gave Bhagavatam class this morning about the standard that was there when Prabhupada was present of the sadhana. My God, I joined in the New York temple, and there were an 11-story building, 250 devotees were in the temple. Everybody was in the morning program. And all of the book distributors, the brahmacharis, there's about 40 of them, 30 or 40, 35, I think. We had to be up at 2 a.m., and it was just amazing, the kind of like bliss and enthusiasm and shakti that came from these strong sadhana practices. The Sankirtan leader, he actually had a devotee that he assigned to stay at the door to the temple. So if any of the Sankirtan devotees wanted to leave the japa time in the temple, they had to have a really good reason for that. It was like kind of the guard. So anyway, that's it would be nice to return to that level of standard and enthusiasm that was present, because it gave so much shakti to our movement. It was just huge what devotees were able to do in those days with that kind of support, with sadhana, and the kind of the group spirit. There wasn't any, I don't remember any politics going on, amongst the devotees. I was new, so maybe I was oblivious to it, but...
What year was that?
This was in 77, 78, 79, 81, the temple was sold, and then the whole thing changed in New York. But it was very powerful.
But the regular person who is maybe like a housewife, has children, or the husband is working all day. We have so many devotees now, they are not temple based, or even, devotees who may be serving in the temple. What advice will you give them?
Well,
I think you've given it already with this, what Radheshyam Prabhu said now. You have to make time, right?
Yeah.
That's the...
You just set your limits,
Yeah.
and that's it, and you just stick with it. And I realized, it was like an enormous marathon I was in, for the last year to get the Prabhupada Network up and running. A lot of hard work to get it going. And, I slid some from my sadhana standards, not getting up as early as I used to, and all kinds of, not going to the Bhagavatam classes. But I just, I saw this letter that Prabhupada had written to Abhiram. Oh boy, it was kind of, and I knew I had to walk my talk, because I was encouraging junior devotees to have strong sadhana practices and the value in doing it. So, what was your question?
The question is, what practical advice will you give to people who, they're working, they have children, I don't have time to read Prabhupada's book, or I don't like to read, or I fall, I heard so many things. I fall asleep when I read Prabhupada's books.
Yeah.
They're too repetitive. I mean, you hear things like this sometimes. And
well, I think it's one thing that that may be very helpful in those conditions when the taste is minimal, and the practice is minimal, and attitudes may be not so positive. To join an on-site course, just take a vacation from work or vacation from the heavy jugya you're doing, and just go and get a battery recharge.
yeah.
And, I've done that in myself in the past. I used to do it every year when I was a temple president in America. I came to Vrindavan and studied the VIT, and it was remarkable how much strength I got from doing it. And, there's a Bhagavatam 3.25, Satam Pasangam Mamavirya Samvido Bhavanti Rit Karna Rasayana Kata Judge Joshanad Ashva Bhavargavartmani Shadaratir Bhaktir Anukramishati. That, when you're hearing and chanting in the association of devotees, it's very pleasing to the ear and to the heart, and it accelerates spiritual advancement tremendously. So that's, really a very powerful facility.
Mm.
Now, of course, it's available online, so that's also an option. And, sometimes it can be very enlivening and inspiring for devotees to participate in those online courses. So that makes it a little easier. But the on-site's powerful, when you get that personal contact and then you develop relationships with the teachers, with your fellow students, and sometimes they last for life. I have that kind of relationship with Giriraj Swami, with the Nectar Devotion course I got way back in '89 with him. Very powerful experience.
Mm.
So, I think that's one way to do it, or just read in association with someone else too.
Yeah.
Gives you kind of accountability. I know you're regularly doing that.
Yeah.
Doing
I'm
it on-
sacrificing my reading today.
Oh yeah, to come and talk to us. Okay, but that's also a powerful experience, right? Yeah, it gives you like the impetus to do it, and there's like more realization that you're doing it in Sangha of other Vaishnavas.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think the point is that if you do like an on-site course, you have like an intensive period in your life where you're in touch with Srila Prabhupada's books, in the association of devotees, interacting, hearing classes, and that really gives you exposure to the books. And the books are so fascinating, so enlivening, that you develop a taste for it, just by being in contact with the books. And if you are not able to do a course like this, then find some devotee partner, someone that you can read the books with. You can create like a reading Sangha group on WhatsApp or Skype or, so many media platforms today to do that. Thank you. So in terms of developing a taste for reading Srila Prabhupada's books, Atul Prabhu, is there a specific book out of all of Prabhupada's books that you particularly like? Your favorite or some?
Well, I had some thoughts on this topic of overcoming
Okay.
challenges.
Please
That,
share with us.
It's Mahabharata, the same verse actually that we began with today. Koti mukta modde dulabha Krishna bhakta. How rare is a devotee of Krishna, even amongst liberated souls. The previous statement, Mahabharata says, Dharmachari modde bahut karmanishta, koto karmanishta modde jnani shrestha. That Dharmachari modde, amongst those who actually believe in God, Dharmachari modde bahut karmanishta. Most of them, it's for results. It's to get relief from suffering in this life, or even to get to heaven, or most. Bahut karmanishta. Koti karmanishta modde jnani shrestha. It's rare to find someone who's actually interested in liberation amongst, like thousands of followers of religion. So, a person that's actually interested in philosophy is very rare. Most of us don't join the movement for that reason,
Yeah.
for philosophy.
No amount of philosophy will have convinced me to join.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so the books are philosophical, and Prabhupada, he's giving knowledge. He's giving us. So you need association to develop a taste. You need association. It's very rare for a person to be individually motivated to actually read all Prabhupada's books, unless they're a rare person that has a particular objective, to become a preacher. And people, devotees like that, they have that inclination, but they're rare. Most people, they're not going to read unless they have a reason to.
Yeah.
And so, the Holy Dham, that's what it's meant for. Mahaprabhu says that amongst the Choishati Sharananga, amongst the 64 items that awaken prema, there's 5 most powerful. Sadhu Shanganam Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathura Bash Srimati Rashadaya Shavan. So, Sadhu Sangha Bhagavat Shravan Mathura Bash. So, if you live in the Dham or you spend time in the Dham, okay. Most of our movement now is people, congregation, they have jobs. They're not living in ISKCON. They're not financially dependent on ISKCON. So really, there's no reason why you can't visit Mayapur or Vrindavan. The reason, like regularly, make that your place of when you take a break. Go to Vrindavan, come to Mayapur, and in association of Vaishnava study Prabhupada's books. Mayapur Institute is there. Here in Mayapur, in Vrindavan, the BIH is there. There is the Bhagavat Mahavidyalaya. All of these, many places in Vrindavan now where you can simply take up residence and study Srila Prabhupada's books. So in that place, then you will get a taste.
Yeah.
Bishai Chariya Shai Roshe Majiya. Vishacha, you live in a holy dham, simple life. You just going to and from the class, study the books. You give up all the other work for a while. Vishacharya Shairoshe Majjiya. Then you can enter into the deeper level of Krishna consciousness. The medicine of the hearing will be so much more effective if done in association of Vaishnavas in the holy dham. So we should emphasize that. Prabhupada also established these degrees for this reason. He says that to ensure that they're not going to just read. So at least they have to read, take an exam, and if they don't have the exam, they're considered second class. That was Prabhupada saying. Have the exams, and then at least we know they've read.
Yeah.
He said all the Brahmins should take Bhakti Shastri. So, in other words, Prabhupada knew that they're not just going to read out of duty. So, the degrees are there. The degrees also, we're trying to make those more accessible so that more people read.
Yeah.
I mean, the movement is expanding so much that we have to keep up with the books and the degrees have to be available in an app on your phone.
And now, before it was difficult to get devotees to read, and there was no internet. Now on the top you have the internet.
Yeah, make it easy.
Which is a massive distraction. Well, it makes it easy, but it's also like a massive distraction. You go like anytime you go free, you just go into Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah.
Before you know it, your half an hour free is gone, just scrolling.
And so many things are designed actually to make it easy for you to get absorbed in, as distinct from Prabhupada's books.
Exactly. So it's an extra challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
So we have to be on top of it, so that we're there in the cyber world. We're there with the books online and everything, but online sangha if you can't come to the holy dham.
But I think you're making both of you made a nice point. Very important point is that that at least some period in your life you should come to be in the dham, be in the association of the devotees, and have the experience of actually reading Prabhupada's books, studying Prabhupada's books in the association of the devotees. Because it's life changing. I mean, we have, you've been doing it since 2000, and I joined in like 2008, and every year, the closing ceremony, so many devotees, they say, I had a life changing experience. This changed my life, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for something that is going to impact us to such degree that is going to change the course of our lives. So just as a closing, I was thinking, in terms of your own appreciation of Srila Prabhupada's books, is any specific book that you particularly have an attraction for and that you relish?
Any specific what?
Book.
Oh.
Of all of Srila Prabhupada's books, of course. I know you like Chaitanya Bhagavat, but...
Yeah, well, Prabhupada wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah.
And to be able to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita with Prabhupada and commenting on that book. Prabhupada personally said that his guru, he retired on the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And when Prabhupada went to on the Jaladuta, he had a Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he mentioned, so I'm getting solace from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then when he arrived in 1966, in 2nd Avenue, he started classes on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he's reading the verses, Sanatan Shikha. So for me, it's kind of like there's nothing beyond that.
Yeah.
Such a qualified person. He's chanting the Sanskrit, the Bengali verses. And he's discussing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in 1966 to people that don't know anything about Krishna consciousness.
In the Bowery.
Prabhupada, so the Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you want to, Prabhupada's, his translations, the way he comments, and then if you understand the Bengali as well, Prabhupada's given us Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
I think it is a special thing because, Mahaprabhu is our Ishtadev and is our savior in this age. So naturally his pastimes are going to be particularly sweet. No?
Sachimata says in Shantipur, Tomrishab Paro Gamon Agamon, Ganga Snanayo Hobe Taragamon. She's explaining why he's going to Puri, because it's so close. Tomrishab Paro Gamon Agamon, you all can go and come. Tar Ganga Snano Hobe Agamon, and he also will return here to bathe in the Ganga. When you understand the meaning of the Bengali, you feel her heart when she's saying those things. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is so nectarian It's famous book in ISKCON because Prabhupada, it's our philosophy that he says, but the final thing, everything is there. It was already famous in the world amongst academics because of its poetry, because there's nectarian descriptions of the science of God and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. It's poetry. So what a book. What a book.
Yeah.
Chaitanya Charitamrita, we could say, whenever I open my mouth, I try to, speak on it because, what else should one say?
And we have, like you said, you have access to those intimate pastimes, like the love of Mother Sachi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the interaction with the devotees is so sweet.
Shrivas Thakur, Nittaratte Ami Bhavani Pujan, Amana Mahima Deko Brahmana Sojan. He's standing at the door, the items for worshipping Bhavani all there. What does he say? Nittaratri Ami Bhavani Pujan. I regularly worship Bhavani every night. Amana Mahima Deko Brahmana Sojan. Look at my qualities, O assembly of Brahmins. I mean, the poetry.
Yeah.
Srivas Thakur, you can see him at the door.
And then, the consciousness behind him, like he's taking such a kind of humble.
It's unbelievable. Chaitanya Charitamrita is astonishing with the statements, the things that go on in that book.
Yeah. Janmastami Prabhu, what about you? Any particular book that you find some solace, some help, some inspiration?
The book that I've relished the most over the years is Nectar of Devotion. And I taught it 19 times. But it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. You know what? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he empowered Rupa Goswami. And we're Rupa Nugas. We're following in his footsteps. So it's a very, very powerful, very sweet facility for understanding bhakti. Very, very detailed, and there's so much love there. So encouraging. So I found it to be life transformational for me. And every time I teach it, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's my favorite book. I also like Nectar of Instruction, but I haven't taught that as many times. But that's also very sweet. I like it because of the practical application. Of course, there's, Lord Chaitanya instructing Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's a big section there. So, but that's...
I heard that Tamal Krishna Maharaj told Prabhupada.
Who told Tamal Krishna?
Yeah, he said that, we had the Krishna book. And he said, Prabhupada, I think that, just like we have the Krishna book, this Nectar of Devotion is like Srimati Radharani, or Radharani's book. And Papa said, yes, that's correct. It's a special sweetness. Yeah. I find, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, they have that special sweetness. Even if you don't understand, sometimes the topics in both books are way, they're very elevated. But just being in touch with the sound vibration is so inspiring and soothing to the heart. So we're coming to an end. Thank you all for being with us. And in this interview, I hope that you have got something out of it, maybe gained some appreciation from Srila Prabhupada's books. In terms of practical advice, I always give one advice, and I'm just gonna share it with you, is that whatever book you want to read, get it out of the shelf, put it somewhere which is accessible, and commit to every day just open it, just open it. And I'm 100% convinced, and I've seen it many times, that if you just do that, you will read the book, just by committing to opening the book daily. Small steps can get you really, really far. So thank you, Janmastami Prabhu and Atul Krishna Prabhu, for being with us. Any final comments before we close?
Thank you for the wonderful discussion.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.